That essence is becoming God-centered, God-centric. Where God is the reflection of your own beauty in its entirety. There is God. But at the same time, He reflects whatever you are going to become. But you cannot become that within the folds of arrogance and ego. So surrender to it. And that is the process known as Islam. Surrender to that utmost beauty. Let it go. And let that beauty and the beautiful architect make you and mold you. So now you're saying, if that is Islam in essence, then why did we have so many other religions? Have you ever read the Quran? The Quran never calls Christianity Christianity, it calls Isa and his followers Muslims. Read the Quran. It talks about Moses. And Moses says to his people, are you not Muslims? He talks about Ibrahim. Aslamtu li Rabbil Alameen. I have surrendered to the Lord of the worlds. All of these, Yaqub, Ismail, Ibrahim, Ismail, Musa, Isa, Hawariyun, the disciples of Isa, they have all said, we are Muslims. The same truth, after Moses was termed Judaism, after Jesus was termed Christianity, after Muhammad Rasulullah was termed Muslim, none of these formalistic titles are conveying the essence of Muslim. So nowadays we are forced to say the capital uppercase M and the lowercase m. The uppercase M is what the followers of Prophet Muhammad call themselves. The uppercase I is what the followers of Prophet Muhammad call themselves. The lowercase I is the religion of God. That is the Islam of Ibrahim, Musa, Isa, Yaqub, Sulaiman, Dawood, and Muhammad Rasulullah. And whoever surrenders to it is known as the Muslim. So what has changed? From Moses till Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and from Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam till today, what has changed? Has the essence of God's centricity changed? That we need to belong to the most beautiful, the most noble, the light of all lights, the one who we can give ourselves over to truly, the one we can trust in fully. Has that facet changed of religion? Guru Nanak has said the same thing. It's after the Abrahamic prophets. Every monotheistic religion proclaims God's centricity for that level of substantive existence. That hasn't changed, has it? Has morality, has virtues changed? Be charitable, be noble, be righteous. Has that changed? Has it changed? Will you go and say, now religion is saying, don't be righteous, don't be virtuous, don't be charitable, don't be forgiving, don't have clemency? Has morality changed? Allah said, indeed we revealed to the Israelites, after Cain killed Abel, that killing one person is as if you've killed mankind in its entirety. After narrating the story of Cain and Abel, Quran says, and therefore we revealed to the Israelites. So it's the same truth. Cain was not supposed to kill Abel, it was wrong. The Israelites were told, you're not supposed to kill anybody. Abraham was out to sacrifice his son. God said, no, you cannot kill anybody. He intervened. Moses said the same thing, Jesus said the same thing, Prophet Muhammad said the same thing. Human rights discourse is saying the same thing. Be charitable, has that changed? Be truthful, has that changed? Be righteous, has that changed? None of these things have changed. This is the essence of religion. So what has changed? From Moses to Jesus, the only thing that changed was how morality is fashioned within a newer social context. From the time of Jesus to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the only thing that's changed is how to refashion the same morality of Abraham, Moses, Jesus in a newer social setting. That's the only thing that changed. Nothing else changed. So Islam in new dimension means what? That all these things that we consider to be supplied by religion in essence have nothing to do with religion. The contract of marriage, the notion of fair trade, the rights of others, the rights of women, they had nothing to do with Islam whatsoever. Those were existential necessities of the time that religion by force had to address. They had nothing to do with religion. Religion is for that spiritual, moral and virtuous direction. Even if we say that the moral part of religion can be taken over by the human discourse, I can say fine. But what about that deep-seated, God-centric belonging with God? In essence, only religion can supply that. When we talk about mindfulness and spirituality, and people say I'm spiritual but not religious, well, we have to think about all of this, and these are all little jigsaw pieces of the big puzzle. The big puzzle falls in place when we have one belonging to God who is splendor in its entirety and we can personally trust. Mindfulness you can't trust. There's nothing to trust unless you carve out the whole universe and the whole massive being, which is another name of God. That different people express it differently. So religion in essence is that spiritual centeredness, promotion of beautiful virtue, formulation of salient human morals. So today, I will definitely say that Islam is backwards if we consider Islam to be all the laws that the Muslims claim to be are Islamic. It's backwards, definitely. Are you going to tell me that slavery is permissible? Well, it is there. Islam talked about prisoners of war in the context of slavery that existed at that time. But Islam began the whole trend of emancipation of slaves. But it did not devastate the discussion on it. It was bound by its own circumstances. Are you going to say 2 female witnesses in place of 1 male witness? That's extremely backward thinking. Those were the existential aptitudes of males and females at that time. Are you going to say inheritance half for female and full for man when both of them are equal contributors to society? It's backwards. Those laws are nothing to do with religion. Those were existential necessities of the time that the religion has to address as a part of its teachings and moral teachings that it has to formulate. For me, all the Abrahamic faiths and the new faiths that have come all need to be brutally honest and open to criticism. It is better than the self-critique than critique coming from outside because it's offensive when it comes from outside. It is better that it is we look inwards and criticize it. So there is no such thing as an Islamic law of marriage and divorce. Marriage and divorce are social conventions. The Prophet did not introduce marriage or divorce. It existed from the time of Ibrahim, Ismail, and from the times of Jahiliyyah. What we say here is that mu'amalat, interactions, and social intercourse has got nothing to do with religion fundamentally, neither with Judaism, Christianity, or Islam. And within the human evolutionary trend, we are always seeing things change, don't we? Because there is no one standard that can be applied to an evolutionary entity. How? 10 years ago, disparity in wages between men and women was acceptable and just. Now, it is becoming a problem because it's seen as unjust. Both are equal contributors. Why are you discriminating on the basis of gender? Why has it become unjust today and it wasn't unjust yesterday? Because the human aptitude was such that it was just for it. Today, the human moral understanding and the aptitude of human existence has become much greater, so it's become unjust. It's like saying, we withstand children in kindergarten shouting and screaming and crying. But at high school, it's unbefitting because the existential aptitude has increased and therefore it's unjust now. So these mu'amalat, social interactions, were never anything to do with religion in the first place. And even if religion has addressed it, it has addressed it in its given context. Now let's go to how the Prophet actually demonstrated that. It's amazing. When you read the Quran, try and find the Quran that is in chronological order of revelation, so that you can distinguish between the Meccan surahs and the Madinian surahs, or the Meccan revelations and the Madinian revelations. Yes? You will find a different story coming out altogether. You will find the zakat law in the Meccan surah. Zakat was what? A pillar of faith, right? Zakat was what? Voluntary giving. It was always voluntary giving. In Medina, when Islam acquires the status of a state and the Prophet Muhammad becomes a Rasul and the head of state, zakat becomes a state intervention. You have to give zakat for the needs of the people. It was being governed. And after the Prophet, battles were waged, wars were waged against people who were refusing to pay zakat. You remember the early history of Islam. But in Makkah, it was voluntary giving. It was mere essence. Be altruistic. Share. For the sake of Allah. This is monetary devotion or bodily devotion as opposed to spiritual devotion. Look at the word salah in the Meccan revelation. And then in the Madinian one. In the Meccan one, salah is this beautiful God-centricity, connect with God. Whether you internally or with a little prayer or with rukus and sujood, with bowing and prostrating. What happens in Medina? It becomes a Muslim identity, pray 5 times a day. Have you ever thought that God does not give you direct rewards for praying the formalistic prayer, but He gives reward for praying the voluntary prayers at night? وَمِنَ اللَّيْلِ فَتَهَجَّدْ بِهِ نَافِلَةً عَسَىٰ أَن يَبْعَثَكَ رَبُّكَ مَقَامًا مَحْمُودًا. At nights, pray the voluntary prayers. Your God might raise you to a praiseworthy rank. But He doesn't say that for the Muslim identity. You will see this vast distinction. Meccan verses are full of essence. The Madinian verses are formulating those essence. Those formulations either give Muslim their spiritual identity, like Hajj, fasting and Salah, or they are giving Muslim how to lead a proper life with interactions in accordance with their aptitudes and abilities. Today's Muslim need only retain what gives them identity. Their prayers, their fasting, their Hajj. As far as zakat is concerned, it's the modern taxation. But voluntary giving is a pillar. The pillar of God's centricity is voluntary giving. Give beyond whatever taxes we give. But there's no stipulated sum. Zakat is the tax that we pay. We get its returns. And there's welfare for others. Right? That's what zakat was doing. I know Muslim scholars are adamant that zakat is something else, it's nothing else. It's the same thing. When you give tax, make an intention, it's for the sake of God, and it does what zakat is supposed to do by purifying the soul. We give 50%, don't we? Obviously end up giving 50% with the council tax and the VAT and the road tax, and yeah, do they maintain your roads here? Our councils don't do anything about it. Seriously. Do make an intention that the income tax and the national insurance and whatever else that's going is for the sake of God. Imam Ali used to say that don't invalidate your zakat by not making that pure intention. Zakat is a state intervention, they'll take it from you. But make an intention so that the inner being feels a sense of sacrifice. Divorce, marriage, slavery, women's rights got nothing to do with Islam whatsoever. That is the formalistic Islam. So today if you say to me, can a Muslim become an astronaut? And I'll say, why haven't they become astronauts till date? Why? The failure was, do you know what? The failure was the moon and the sun. You will not see sunrise nor sunset. And you cannot incapacitate yourself. You are duty bound to pray. So you cannot leave the atmosphere of the earth. Can you see that? This is where the Muslim mind got caught up. You can't go on the moon because you can't fast. Are you mad to fast on the moon in the first place? Why does anybody want to fast anyway? The intermittent fast that they have today, the medical world, the fast of the Hindus, the fast of the Christians that they had, the fast of the Jews, the fast of the Muslims, the essence was abstention to an extent from consumables. And the essence was so that the heart, without distraction, can tend towards God. That's what the Quran is saying. But on the moon, you can't see the moon, so when do you start fasting? They asked me, they said, how do we resolve the problem of 2, 3? I said, nuke the moon. Just nuke it. Once the moon has gone, no more problems. Well, it used to work when Mr. Bush was around, but then he went, so nobody else listens. And Trump is far more wiser. He's much more cleverer than that. So the Muslims, and the Christians, and the Jews, and the Hindus, and the Buddhists, all of them need only retain the essential form, the spiritual formulation of the essence within their religion. As far as morality is concerned, it is within the human domain. As far as virtue is concerned, it belongs to all religion. God's centricity fundamentally is the essence of religion. And that has been one and the same through and through. So we have God's centricity, which is the same. We have human virtues, which is the same. We have human morality, which is the same across humanity. The only thing that tears them apart is what? How they were fashioned back in the day. Yes? Now we can bring in such absurd examples of the sort of things that are happening, but maybe we do not want to go down that route. So we can talk about something more, let's say, progressive in that way. So first and foremost, we are saying the dynamism of Islam is that Islam has got nothing to do with how to formulate its morality. It's the human mind that will formulate it. Interaction has got nothing to do with Islam. Go to the moon, go to the sun, do whatever you want. Human rights has got nothing to do with Islam. Islam merely spurred on the discussion. It gave right of divorce to women, the right of ownership. So now I'm saying, so then where did we go wrong? Now it's become backwards. Back in the day, it was 1,000 years ahead of, 1,500 years ahead of its time. After 1,500 years, it's 500 years behind the rest. What went wrong? What went wrong? Human rights are in accordance with existential abilities. Nothing to do with any religion. Rights are accorded in terms of abilities. The gender wars, there's no such thing. As we evolve, as genders become fluid, the gender discussion will not be there at all. And that's not the central discussion anyway. Can you see that? Fast and how to pray, and prayers are facing Makkah or facing Jerusalem, or how do we do ruku and sujood? These are forms that will always have flexibility inside them. The essence is God's centricity. The formulation of the spiritual part of religion gives identity. The rest of it belongs within the domain of human spirituality and morality, which is common. So now I'm going to end with this again. That there is a distinction between Islam with a small I and Islam with a big I. The small I Islam is what Abraham preached, Moses preached, Jesus preached, the Prophet of Islam preached, Guru Nanak preached, Ram and Krishna preached. There's a distinction between the big M and the small m. The small m was the essence of Abraham. He was surrender and yielding. Was the essence of Moses, Jesus, Jacob, all of them. Was the essence of Prophet Muhammad and the noble saints from his family, the Imams, and the noble Sahabas, those who are righteous, Guru Nanak, and everybody else. They are all within the small m. The big M only works when it is in line with the small m. Christianity and Judaism only work when they are in line with a small I, in a small L. If we can understand that, then we will know that the way in which human beings live, system of rights, courts, medical ethics, so on and so forth, are all within the domain of human thinking and human mind. Religion gives the broad principles of fair play. Human beings formulate what that fair play is at the societal level. I will stop there then. Assalamu alaikum.